preventing future contamination, looking at bans on household products and firefighting foam. How can we, testing and monitoring, holding PFAS polluters accountable, and finding solutions to clean up existing contamination. Those are sort of the areas that we really highlighted in our agenda. And this is a bit of the progress, and then I'm going to show you our agenda. So, by the numbers, 9 of our legislative priority policies were introduced this session in the Michigan legislature. 2 passed through the Senate, 2 became law, 3 bills were drafted but not introduced. So, take that for what you want. We could talk about that. There was some progress. It was not as much as we had hoped for or worked on, but this is how it goes. It's a slow-moving train, and we made some momentum. Okay. So this is taken directly from our policy agenda, and I circled and I sent this out to you all in an email, so you can look at it separately. These are the policies that got introduced. So ensuring communities have access to safe water. We really worked on a notification bill. I think we either need to escalate this. Creating financial safety net for farmers, establishing medical monitoring, prohibiting the sale of PFAS products and food packaging. These were all bills that we worked on that actually got a bill number and introduced, and I'll show you that in a minute. The other ones were a polluter pay package of bills that did move through the Senate just this week, and included in that was reforming our state statute of limitations. The bills that actually became law were regulatory, how do we actually, the other ones make it easier to regulate PFAS. So early on in the session, Michigan's no stricter than federal law was dissolved, and now a state department can enact rules that are more stringent than federal standards. We also repealed Michigan's Environmental Rules Review Committee. There's another committee that didn't get dissolved, but these 2 did. So that's good news to make sure that it's easier to regulate PFAS. That's basically kind of what these are both saying. So what I was going to do is kind of talk through what else are, what are some opportunities and challenges ahead. There's the Senate. They have Democratic control or a tie. It's very close there, but we didn't work very much in the Senate this past couple of years, and so I think there's probably more opportunities to do that. Looking to build more relationships with Republicans for bipartisan support. We always should be doing that. And especially in a split legislature and with the House leadership. And finding that our issues do have bipartisan support, and we know that. And so a lot of the bills that were introduced this past session were by Democrats because they had kind of the trifecta and they didn't need, the Republicans. But it's so important moving forward that we really build more relationships with Republicans. And bringing in more impacted voices, firefighters, veterans, farmers, fishermen, nurses, businesses. Who does our, lawmakers listen to, and their constituents, and these are people that matter. So I think that's a strategy that we should be kind of focusing on and trying to build more of. And a lot of our messaging, we've talked a lot about clean water. It's a nonpartisan issue. Everybody needs clean water, and it's an important issue across the state. The health effects of PFAS, and then really looking at some of the costs of paying, of what we're paying to not clean it up, and the costs that, to taxpayers because we just keep contaminating. So we can talk more about some of the challenges, opportunities, however you want to frame them, but these are some of the things that I think we're going to be thinking even more about next year. So I'm just going to do a pretty quick rundown of the bills. I want to make sure you all know which bills kind of got some attention this session, and which of these you feel like we should be keeping in our policy agenda. We should be maybe that's not right. or maybe there's something we need to change. So these are really the ones that were introduced that kind of fall under the bucket of protecting and supporting impacted communities. We got a bill with Rep. Conlin creating a PFAS grant program for impacted farmers. Again, introduced, wasn't moved out of committee, but we managed to get introduced, and there's some good language in there about how to financially support farmers who have had PFAS contaminated land. Increasing or improving EGLE notifying households on private wells when they are in close proximity to a PFAS investigation, or if a resident tests their own well and finds PFAS. This bill we worked on for a long time. It was about a year and a half of going back and forth on the language of it, working directly with EGLE. It was introduced in a committee very late, like in end of maybe even October. So it's sitting in committee and won't, none of these are going to get a hearing. But I will say that just getting this bill introduced was kind of a challenge, and we managed to do it. Creating a medical monitoring cause of action. So this bill was we had this big polluter pay package of bills, and this bill was in there. It unfortunately did not get a vote or move out of the Senate when some of the other polluter pay package bills did. I guess it got a lot of opposition from industry, so we're going to have to work on that again. And essentially, it's allowing people to get their medical bills paid by the industry that was polluting if they can detect a condition linked to exposure. So these are some of the important bills that got introduced. Some bills that we weren't able to get introduced but worked on and drafted were requiring insurance companies to cover blood testing for impacted residents. We have a bill drafted, and we should really think about if we want to get that one back reintroduced next session. And then making our Citizens Advisory Work Group and our Michigan PFAS Action Response Team permanent, and making sure that it's codified into law so that if a new administration comes in, they can't just demolish that team, which is through EGLE, because right now it's just an executive directive. And it's been very important for a lot of you, I know, to be on that Citizens Advisory Work Group. So we're going to keep working on that. In terms of holding corporate and government PFAS polluters accountable, just on Friday or even Monday, this bill extending the statute of limitations did move out of the Senate and is in a House committee. So really they have this week to go through, and the legislature is meeting now, and we'll see if it goes. But if you are able to, we really continue to make calls into the House Natural Resources Committee, Representative Pahudsky, where this bill is, that polluter package, it would be really important. Preventing future PFAS contamination, we got a bill that would ban intentionally added PFAS in household products and firefighting foam. Again, we worked a lot on the language of this, going back and forth with EGLE. So, disappointingly, it didn't get a hearing. We were told it would, but this is how things go. So we're going to have to figure out, a strategy moving forward to getting a really, comprehensive ban on PFAS. See if we can get that through next session. And again, specifically in food packaging, which was a separate bill. So that also did not get any hearing. These weren't some of our actual priority policies, but, lawmakers introduced them on their own. And we did work on the personal care products one, but that was not, that one didn't move. Requiring PFAS warning labels on consumer products and limiting PFAS in biosolids, that was essentially to codify the rules that already exist to test PFAS in biosolids. So very important stuff, but we were really hoping to see some of the other bills introduced. Again, we worked with EGLE and thinking about the governor's executive directive ordering state agencies to limit the purchase of products with intentionally added PFAS. So didn't get introduced. We have a bill drafted. So this is kind of moving forward away from legislative action. One of our priorities was really making sure that testing and monitoring continued in Michigan. And I found this graph or this chart in MPARTS. They do like an end of year progress report every year. And so this is their chart, total MPARTS sites by this year. And you can see, the number of sites that they've identified as PFAS sites has grown tremendously. And it's slowed down a little bit. From 2019, you could see it was at 56, and now it's at 296. But they, every month they're finding more sites. And it's good that they're looking, and we always say that we need funding to keep the investigations going and the water collections and sampling from the lakes and the fish and the foam. But with that comes, we need funding to actually notify people, give people water filters, make sure they're connected to clean drinking water, make sure there's, anything they could do to remediate the site. So it's a big, I think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done to put pressure on the state to make sure that the budget has funding to fund MPART and doing these investigations and all the sampling and collections that they have. So I don't have a lot, I think we need to think about, what our strategy is with the administration over the next 2 years and really specifically on what we'd like to see MPART do more of. This is, kind of what I talked about earlier. Some of the bills that actually passed was repealing the no stricter than federal and getting rid of that Environmental Rules Review Committee, which was essentially just an unnecessary panel that slowed down when Eagle was looking at different permitting and rules. So both of those, that's good that those are gone. And then this other one, which is another review committee, passed the Senate, but not the House. And then the last one, finding solutions to cleaning up existing contamination. I didn't really have a lot to share on this, and I think that this deserves a lot more conversation. I didn't have a lot that I was able to really report out on what we've done or what has happened. I haven't heard much from, the administration or partners that there have been, research into new disposal methods. And I know that, in a couple communities, they are incinerating PFAS waste from sewage sludge. So I think this one is still open to figuring out how we can engage on this, but wanted to make sure I included that. That was the end of that. So that was a lot, and I totally get that. It's after 6:30, but I wanted to just make sure everyone at least had that in front of them, and I will definitely send this PowerPoint out to all of you, and what we'll do is send out a survey to you all and everyone that couldn't make it to kind of be able to give some of your input and feedback on what you thought, about these policies and if we should, keep them for next year. So, Kathy, please, I see your hand up. Go for it.
Yes. So I wanted to, you teed me up for this thing that I wanted to tell you about. Okay. In terms of remediation and like the most exciting thing that I've had. I don't know, maybe I'm getting too excited about it, but there was a project that was placed on our base called, it's foam fractionation. No. Yes. Foam fractionation and then the PFAS annihilator. So they used those systems together. So they brought the groundwater up, created the foam, collected the foam, brought it over to the foam fractionation or the annihilator area, and then broke down all of that collected foam into inert, substances. So it literally broke the PFAS down in large amount because they were able to collect so much in the form of foam. So to me, that's super exciting. It has all sorts of applications, and they are specifically for the Department of Defense. They're going to be looking at that, and the companies are going to be presenting all of that information. and hopefully be able to use it on military bases across the world. So that in terms of
recording in progress.
Oh, now we're going to start recording.
Somebody else was recording.
So anyways, I wanted to just throw that in there. I'm sure we'll hear lots more about it because it will be, I'm sure, something that's going to be used widely.
It sounds a little like foam fractionation and annihilator, like futuristic, but I'm there for that if that's where we're going. I'm always a skeptic of the technologies, but if it works and you're finding that it works, then let's,
yeah, I saw it with my own eyes, as close as they'd let me get. So
that's good news.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anybody else have any thoughts or questions on some of the policies? I apologize that I went through that kind of quick, but I wanted just to make sure that you all kind of saw it and heard it, and then you can digest it, when I send you the PowerPoint, we can talk more about it next meeting. Anything else before I let you all go?
Nope, I'm ready to put some pressure on.
Great. Well, it was great to have you join us. Hopefully throughout next year we'll have some new people every meeting coming in because we're going to be doing more outreach and trying to build up our group. But yeah, it's been a great year, all of you. Thank you so much for all the work that you've been doing, showing up to these meetings, and I know all your other community meetings and the work you're doing. Just, it's a lot, and we all are here to support each other, and I think we do a good job of that. So just wanted to thank you all, and I look forward to seeing you all in the new year.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah, for what you've been doing. It's been an incredible year.
All right, take care. Bye.
Thank you, Erica.
Bye, Rob.
Hello.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Get in there. You leave them alone. No bark.
Yeah, Sheba.
It's just the neighbors. You gotta no bark. You never barked at the neighbors before.
No bark, Sheba.
No bark at the neighbors.